And ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It's another amazing episode of Keeping It Real, your favorite podcast. And I am super pumped up for tonight's guest. I say tonight because it's Friday evening when we're doing this one. I always have a unique schedule with these podcasts, and Friday evenings are a pretty good one. So I'd like to welcome our guest. He is the co-host of the Elite Level Mastermind. He's an educator and speaker at Lifestyle Real Estate Investing, and he is a very unique individual that's going to tell us about some really cool stuff tonight. I'd like to welcome Adrian Smude to the podcast. Adrian, good evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic. I appreciate you having me here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So I go through these. I'm on Facebook all the time, and I just scroll through and I see things that interest me, and I reach out to people because what you've got going on really kind of caught my attention. Tell us first a little bit about yourself, like where are you coming at us from, a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of get into what you're doing because it's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I'm currently physically in Maine, but
Nice.
that's just for the fall. My address is out of Plant City, Florida, which is in between Tampa and Orlando.
Okay.
And it's my address, but I travel most of the year these days because I enjoy traveling. I pair my business with the education world with my personal that I love traveling, which is why I'm here in Maine to check out the leaves. The first time I got to see the leaves all change because in Florida we don't really get that.
Yeah, I'm in Texas. So we don't have that either.
Yeah. But how did I get started in this whole real estate thing? What we're really here to talk about
Yeah.
is we'll rewind about 20 years. I was 20 years old. I was a terrible tenant. So we got multiple eviction notices. These are for mud wrestling parties, spaghetti wrestling parties, pudding wrestling parties, parking a motorcycle in the living room. The moral of the story there is don't rent to 20-year-old Adrian and his friends. But after the multiple evictions, I had a family member, mortgage broker, and he said, well, why don't you buy a house? Went and signed a piece of paper, bought a house, moved all my friends in to help me get evicted, started learning, oh, wait, yeah, that's why we suck. And I had to deal with all of it, but I lived for free because I divided my mortgage up amongst my friends. And living for free was really cool at 20 years old.
Yeah.
So then fast forward a little bit, I said, hey, I'm going to buy another house. Went back to the banks, and that's all I understood right then. And they said, you can buy another house, but you're going to lose a little bit every month. Don't worry, you can refinance in a few years. Real estate goes straight up. When that few years came, the market was coming down. I went from losing a little bit every month to a little bit more because I had one of those adjustable rate mortgages.
Yep.
I kept holding, and eventually I gave the home up as a short sale. Dinged my ego, credit, and my integrity. But it didn't let that stop me because that first house I was living for free. Yes, I was eating off of not ramen noodles, but Lipton noodle packets. I was like one step above there and living off of $5 a day of food, but didn't lose that house. So that like really stuck with me about this real estate thing. Bought a few more houses, but then I really got into it when I found the mobile home niche. The single unit with the land, the home and land together, not the big parks and not the units within the park. The home and dirt. And since then, I have transferred all of my assets over to that. I own single unit mobile homes with the land. I sold off all the houses, the corner lot ranch houses, for these cash flowing, recession resistant aluminum castles. And that's where I'm at today. Like I said, I travel around, speak, teach on it. Very intentional with my time. I love having fun. Like a Friday night talking about real estate with you is a good Friday night to me.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So you've set the tempo for this entire interview right there with what you've got. I appreciate the energy. I love it because that's my thing too. So this really it piqued my interest. Okay, and I can see what the thought process is. Okay, single unit mobile homes, not in trailer parks, not in the the communities, but on the outskirts. The ones I used to live in one for 6 years, honestly, in College Station, Texas. So I get it. And I'm sure that thing had been paid off for 50 years, but it was a wonderful thing. So let me ask you this. How did you come across this realization of single wide mobile homes? Like that's not a super common avenue to take. So probably didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to ask people for advice. How does that whole thing kind of develop for you?
And you are exactly right. So at about 6, 7 years ago, I thought we were at the top of the market. So I've been extremely wrong about the direction of the real estate market. But that's why I started searching for something different. Because remember that short sale I mentioned? It's like in the back of my head, and I didn't want to be wrong again. I didn't want to not pay my bills. Well, I started listening to the silver haired, if they have hair at all, the real estate investor at the clubs. They sit in the back. They don't need to be there, but they love the business of real estate and investing. So I started talking to them a lot more, and they all mentioned mobile homes. Either they owned them then, they used to own them, but they didn't talk about them as these bad thing. Like I was growing up, you don't get in these. These are hurricane missiles. Like they're not safe. But they didn't talk that way. So I said, all right, they've been investing in real estate longer than I've been alive. Let me check it out. Now, like you said, there wasn't any education out there, which is one reason I'm out educating now because there just wasn't any. So I had to go make a lot of hard mistakes. I tried it out and I got addicted to the cash flow. And I said, I don't need these big, shiny, good for Instagram, houses. I like the ones that make my bank account look better, that give me really high ROIs.
I love that. So, okay, that makes sense, right? I mean, anybody with common sense says, okay, that's pretty good. You find the guys that are back there that look like they've been around the block a few times, and you ask them, like, how does this work? They point you in that direction. Okay. Now, you stated previously that when you were doing the houses, you were going to the banks. That was the only way that you knew at that time. Obviously, as you continue to develop and get these things, there become different opportunities for you to, use other things for leverage and do things, to maybe be a little more unconventional. How does this work with buying single wide mobile homes out on land? Because obviously that's kind of a different dynamic. Is it similar to a home purchase, or how do you make this happen?
Yeah, so generally the big banks, your Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, those banks, they don't really want much to do with, if anything, with mobile homes.
Right.
Now let's bring it down a notch to the community banks, the credit unions. They will finance mobile homes. This is when it's a home and land together. So when it's a home and land together, they will finance them. You do need to get their particular qualifications for the home. None of them are going to go older than June 15th, 1976. It's a great year to write down. It's not my birthday. It is the year that the federal government stepped in, HUD, and said, we're going to have some type of standard with these mobile homes. So that's the year that they did that. So banks don't go older than that year. I have very, very rarely seen them even go that old though, because all the qualifications, it costs so much to get the home to that level. People don't usually pay all
They
that
don't
money.
see the value in it. I
Yeah.
get you. Yeah.
So if you're in the 90s, you can usually kind of get it financeable. Now, every state's going to be a little different. We have a little bit stricter hurricane levels than you do in Texas, so it changes a little bit. The 80s are kind of be a mix. But I don't deal with banks at all. I'm actually bank free, besides my checking account. But I don't owe banks any money for about a year and a half now. I
Okay. So
use
let's talk
friends and
about this.
family. Yeah,
How do you
friends
do
and
it?
family
Okay.
and seller financing.
Gotcha.
So these older ones, the 1960s and 70s, ones that people are scared of because, well, they look scary until you learn about them. Everyone knows they're not financeable, including the person that is selling it. So they don't tell me, well, why don't you just go to a bank? They have been a lot easier to talk about the conversation of, well, why don't I just make you payments, Chuck? And that happens a lot more often with those older ones. And I much rather pay a human being than a bank. It just feels better to me. So
For
those are my
sure.
two big options. I use some cash. I know a lot of investors, they don't want to have any of their own money in the deal. I get a great return on my money if it's in my deal. Yeah, I can put it in someone else's. I'm not scared to use my own cash. I like some free and clear properties. I sleep really well at night. I have a lot of cash flow from it, but I use leverage of other human beings.
That's awesome right there. Okay. So now I'm really excited. It's like you figured it out. Okay, we don't have to mess around with all that stuff. We can get these, really accumulate a lot of them in a short period of time. Like, at what point did you realize, okay, now I'm really, really, really onto something? I'm going to invest all my time, all my money, all my energy into this specific market because it's untapped for the most part, and you've just discovered, the secret that most people don't ever discover, and that's how to leverage other people's money, and how to continue to make yourself assets without really spending a lot. So
Yeah.
let's dig into that. You look at these trailers, and I don't want to say trailers. That's a terrible
Nah, we can
whatever.
call them a trailer because it brings like the perceived value down. Which
Well,
means I
yeah,
get a better
okay. From your
negotiating.
perspective, I get that. So
Yeah.
yeah, you got to buy these trailers, and it's a 1974 model, which is probably a pretty good year anyways, but you see some problems. 1974 was a long time ago, right? So obviously, mobile homes are not as sturdy. They're not built as sturdy as a regular house is. There's all kinds of different issues that can occur throughout the course of a 40 or 50-year lifespan. When you take that investment on, like, what kind of things are you looking at, when you do your assessment of the property and decide, yeah, this is worth it or it's not? Because I'm sure you've probably seen a few that you've passed on, right?
Oh yeah. So I look at a few different pieces. My first filter is the cash flow. I'm a cash flow investor. Do I get some appreciation? Yes. Uh, but I like cash flow. That's what I eat off of. Appreciation goes and it comes. It's not as much in my control. And I can't eat it. I eat every day and live and travel off of cash flow. So that's why that is for me what I look for. So that's my number one thing. And then, yeah, I want to see that there's some type of value. But in my markets in general, if the cash flow doesn't work, well, the value isn't there anyways. So they usually kind of go hand in hand. But would I overpay, and have I? Yes. But that's because you're giving me great payments that I can now cash flow. Now, I like to stick with a home in the dirt together because the worst case scenario and a hurricane wipes it off, I have some dirt. Have I bought them in the parks where all I own is the unit? Yes. And those really helped accelerate my growth curve. Will I buy more? Probably at some point. They're not solely in my vision, but let's get back to the home and land together.
Yes.
Cash flow, and then what's it worth? What's the dirt worth? And when I was growing, I really didn't care about the dirt value. I just looked at it because it's the responsible thing to do. Today, I am looking at the dirt value. I call those my lotto tickets. Like, I'm looking at one right now that's a little over an acre of land, and it's in a path of progress. So I'm looking at that as a builder's going to come buy me out, and that's a good lotto ticket, not the one that you go buy at the gas station. When I was
Right.
in growth mode and I needed the cash flow to replace income, I wholesaled those off. If I was a fix and flipper, maybe I would have fix and flipped it, but I'm not. So that's kind of the play. Now I can look at some equity. I also look at a headache value. Is this property going to cause me a headache? Today, I want less headaches than I did a few years ago. I never wanted headaches, but I was willing to have headaches years ago because I wanted my growth to go fast. I wanted to replace my wife's income really fast. And that's why I was willing to take on these headaches. And headache is any phone call. If it's the property's going to, like you said, break down a little quicker, not as good of quality. If it's going to attract a resident that lives there that's going to call me about every little thing or is going to be causing problems and the police are going to be over there, those are headaches to me. I don't like headaches. I like to get paid if I have a headache.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of looking at things for sure. And that was kind of leading into my next question. Okay. You've purchased in both scenarios out, kind of in the country, in the community. The difference between the types of residents that you get in each scenario, is that something that you have to factor in as well? And I know that that's kind of like that's a shitty question. I got to admit, and I kind of put you on the spot with that, but it's a mindset thing, I guess. And it's like, we're just being honest.
Yeah. Let me back up and answer the question. Taking out trailers or mobile homes. Let's
Mhm.
just forget about those. Let's forget about the structure of the home. One of my mentors, Pete Fortunato, he says in general, people that are in multifamily living situations want services. And in general, people that are in single family living situations want privacy. Now, we need both in the world. I relate to privacy more. So it's one reason I gravitate towards a single family property because that's what I want and I relate to more. Again, we need the services because there's people that want that and there's people that like giving services. So that's being very general. So that's true in the mobile home park scenario. I have found that to be true. And that's one reason I stick with the piece of land. Someone goes there and they want privacy. They want to live there. I now dealt in lower income mobile home parks when I did those. They were not very good areas. They were safe-ish. I dealt with really unsafe actually outside of mobile home parks, and I learned my lesson there. Nowadays, I don't buy anything that I don't feel safe sending my wife alone at night. And that's just a gut thing and that's a feeling thing for me. If I don't feel safe and I wouldn't do that, I don't buy it. Because I have bought properties that on a Wednesday at noon, the SWAT team are breaking down the neighbor's home to get in. And I was like, this isn't for me. I'm not tough enough for that. So I just found my comfort level, and outside of parks is my comfort level. All of these can make money if you run them the right way and you're tough enough for each one.
I like that. That's a great explanation. So the ones out on the land in the country, like I said, I used to live in one for 6 years, and it was so cool because it was out in the middle of nowhere. I was able to fly my drone around. My dog could just run. There were cows and horses and all kinds of stuff. And if I hadn't moved, I'd probably still be living in that thing. And it was great. And I understood they liked me as a tenant because I took care of things. I mowed the yard. I took a little bit of pride in it. And they said basically, you're the first one that we've had in a long time that's taken pride in it. And sometimes it was just the mindset of, nobody can really see us or nobody knows what's going on, or, even as much as like we want to have 75 cats on the property so there's no mice. And there's a certain environment that comes with that, right? So have you had any deals where you misread a person, or you've got someone that's in one currently that you buy and you look at it and you say, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have to do some serious work when this is done, even though it's making me money? Or do you look at it and say, when it's done, I'm just going to burn it to the ground and be done?
So first of all, everything you just explained about your situation there is my avatar. I want someone that wants to move there and wants privacy. They're cats, or they bring their goats and their lawn equipment, maybe their ferrets, rabbits, chickens. I haven't had a horse yet, but I'm sure I will one day. I like all that. For one, most other landlords or housing providers don't like it. And when you take pride in it, you said that key word. That's what we look for in our application process. Someone's going to take pride in their home that they're going to live in. So I'm going through exactly what you're asking for right now. We bought a property and it already had a family member living in it. He was supposed to move out and he didn't want to. And all right, so let's try to work something out. We worked something out and he never even made his first payment. Signed a new lease and everything, never made his first payment. So he's getting formally evicted now. I wanted to work something out because this property is in bad condition. It's one of the worst I've ever bought. I got a good deal on it, but I don't want it back. What am I going to do with it, though? Because it's in rough condition. Today, I will probably owner finance it to another investor that's in their growth mode. So some of my mentors did that for me, and it feels good, and I can make a lot of money. So it's a win-win. Years ago, I would have fixed it up and rented it. But today, I joke around that I'm a lazier investor. I just don't want to deal with that as much if I don't have to. I'm in a different position. What will I do 3 years from now? I have no idea. I don't know what position I'm going to be in. If I'm going to want more cash flow and I'm willing to do the work for it. today, that's probably my plan, is to owner finance it to someone that is going to go in, do the work. I have one investor that I've done 3 with now. He had already had 3 properties when I started with him. I've seen his work. He actually, as a handyman, came and did work on some of my properties. I see his work. It's good quality stuff. He's good, reliable. So why not help him out? Just like I said, some of my mentors helped me. So it's great when we can make money and help each other.
I love that. And that's exactly where I was getting ready to head with this conversation is, okay, you've figured it out and you've gotten yourself, a good bit of success and you're realizing, okay, there's something here. The next step, obviously, like you said, is to find some people that you can show this to and kind of help elevate, change their lives, put them in a position that they never felt even possible. So tell me about this. You decide you're gonna start educating people about this process. You're still full-time in it, 100%, but you're gonna kind of delve off here and start helping others get in. How does that entire process look from the beginning? How does that start? And what was the initial thought in your mind that said, okay, now's the time I need to do this? It's time to act.
Well, let me back up and say that I never thought I would be out speaking. I passed public speaking in college, and I only spoke about 3 minutes in the entire semester. Whenever I was at my RIA, and I used to volunteer a lot, they would have me read the legal disclaimer. I physically shook reading this big print piece of paper. I never thought I'd be a speaker. But I also was learning that you got to do hard things. And the lady at my RIA was pushing me in a direction without me really realizing it. And fast forward some, I found my success with this mobile home thing. And there's other successful mobile home investors. They're usually just really quiet. And as you can tell, my bright shirt and kind of personality, I like to talk about what I do. You said on Facebook, you see me like, I'm not quiet about stuff. I enjoy, so I joke around I'm the megaphone. So that little Facebook character, the megaphone, I love that one. And I'm other friends. I'm the megaphone of my other friends' company sometimes because I'm like, you don't talk enough about what you do. Well, that got people asking locally, well, will you come and teach about this? Because we've never heard anyone talk about the mobile home things, or we haven't heard anyone talk in like 10 years about it. So I nervously did it because people helped me and I want to do the same. And then I eventually, after I got over that stage fright, I'm a member of Toastmasters, helped me a lot. I do a lot of self improvement, but I fell in love with it. I love teaching. I love helping people. It fits very well with my personal vision that I get to travel places. So I love traveling. So now I get paid to travel. That's great. And I get to educate. And when you educate, your normal business, if you're doing it the right way, gets elevated because I have to research everything I've done. And I'm like, oh man, I've been talking about that, but it looks like I fell off right here. So my normal business is becoming up because it's something that I'm comfortable with. Like, I'm not comfortable teaching others. So now I got to bring my business up to another level. So now I can teach that. And it's been great, man. I love it. I love doing these. I just want to help and pass on knowledge because if not, it dies. And that's just a sin.
It is. It's a disservice, You spend all that time and develop the skills, and then if it just dies, that really is it's your legacy. And it's like you're putting it on the line, and it's like, yeah, whatever. It's not worth anything. But I absolutely love what you just said. Okay. I have been in the roofing business for 25 years. Literally, I started as a truck driver. I've worked my way through all these different weird scenarios. My story is crazy. Like every single step, I end up in a different, unique scenario. And to me, it's always been my thing when I got to the position where I was able to do so, where I could go teach other people the lessons that I learned to help them accelerate their growth and to avoid the stupid mistakes. Cause I've made every one of them once at least, a couple of them I've done 2 or 3 times, but every one I
I'm
made
with you.
once. Yeah. And so I was literally just yesterday, I was in Oklahoma City. I get to go over and fly down there and hang out with a roofing company with their team for 2 days. We did a full 2-day training, went out door knocking with them, just showing these guys, that have never done it before, what it's like. And it was so magical because I've had a lot of guys over the years and gals as well that text me and say, I just got my first deal. I used that closing line that you gave me, or I texted back with that, have you given up on this job? And they got back to me because nobody wanted to. And to me, that is the most rewarding part of the entire journey, right? Like the fun part of helping homeowners and building roofs and all that. It's great. But once you've seen 100,000 roofs being put on, it really doesn't excite you that much anymore. But being able to teach people and show them the way and then see them actually have that success is so great. And I love the traveling aspect. I'm just like you. I get to travel. I get to go do cool engagements. I was the co-MC of a major event for the roofing industry last month.
Sweet.
And never saw that coming, but I did predict it last year. So that's the key. You put the things out there into the world and they do kind of happen. And, so you've got people down that are interested in learning from you, but you obviously want to expand that. You just said you're traveling all over the country. You're speaking on this. How does the evolution go from, a couple people that from town that you're talking to this about to now all of a sudden I'm on a tour, you've written a book, you've got, you're the expert in your field now and you're showing people how to do it. What's that evolution look like? And how do you get to the point from where you're, just trying to scrape and make it happen to now, oh my gosh, like this is almost overwhelming, right?
Yeah. So first of all, I have a CDLA. So I know the trucking world a little bit. I did that a long time ago. Actually, I have some Ohio stories I can tell you later. Which, if you're a
Me
trucker,
too. I'm from Ohio.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that is a great question. So I have a vision for my life, and I have a vision for my businesses. The concept for a vision, for anyone that doesn't know, and the theory I subscribe to, is it's like this future life, and you get really close to it, you write a new one. And it's not the fact of like always be going for more. It's just to always stretch. It's and keep there's something better out there. And it's not like just to be in a hamster wheel running. It's to always challenge ourselves if we're self-improvement and we just want to improve our lives. So I have that for my personal life. And I understood it as I built my mobile home buying business and built my life there. Now, when I started the education world, I already understood and believed in seeing this vision thing work. So I wasn't as, we'll say, green and like, does this work? So I started with a vision from day one. Actually, probably 6 months before I really decided to make this a business. I did one little webinar during COVID to get over the mindset like people will pay me for what I know. Like we all have our limiting beliefs, and that was one of mine. And then I spent some time interviewing a lot of my friends and mentors. What would they do to start over? To figure out what worked for me. So direct coaching is not something for me, I found, because I don't think I could just go out camping for a week in the woods if I knew you had your first closing. I would be nervous, even if you said you didn't need me. So I'm not emotionally at a point I can do that. So I'm like, all right, that's off the table. This is just like when we're listening to all the podcasts and every episode has a different topic. Like, oh, I want to do mobile homes this week, and next week it's apartments. So it's kind of figuring out what I didn't want and putting all that in line, what I actually want it to look like, and then trying it out. And one of my key pieces with it, or a few of them, are spreading sunshine, joy, happiness, inspiring others, teaching from my success, my failures, and having fun. If those aren't happening, I'm going to turn it off. Now, that's not fairy tale world where every little minute of it is complete fun and joy, but the majority of it. And if it starts tipping at all, like, this isn't fun, I reevaluate and cut something out or pay someone to do something, because this is a passion business. Because my mobile homes or the rentals, they pay for my life. And then success takes off when you believe it and you have the right people behind you. You are doing the right thing. The next thing you know, you're the head speaker of a big conference.
Yeah, it's amazing how that snowball works when it's going positive. It works the same way the other direction, but I try to avoid that at all costs. I really like the attitude that you had there about not wanting to do like individual one-on-one because of the emotional tie. Like most people don't think on that level and they would just say, "Oh crap, like you're willing to pay me, I'll come over and I'll spew some stuff
Yeah.
at you and I won't really have, I won't have that much emotion." But you saying, "Look, I care that much that I don't want to do that." There's something super respectable about that. And I think it probably draws more people towards you that, that
And
element of you can't have it's the takeaway clothes, the little kid that doesn't want the toy and then you take it from them, they want it more than anything.
I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah. I mean, so there's two pieces there. One of my friends and mentors, Joe Turney, he actually stopped coaching because he learned that the hard way. That he was so emotionally attached to his students. And I was like, that would be me. And I was like, I don't want that. I love this so much. I don't want to ever stop doing it. And I want to outsource some pieces of it. But the pure teaching part, I love. And I'm almost overprotective of that. Of at any point, if it's not fun, that means I'm going to get burned out and not want to do it anymore. Like I don't love every aspect of the buying business anymore. I love talking to sellers and solving their problem. Absolutely love that part. I love problem solving the business itself, but most of the day to day doesn't fill my bucket. I could do it, but I don't get it out of bed excited about doing that. I get out of bed excited about writing another article or writing my book or prepping for, a podcast or a speech or something like that. That excites me. The day to day of the other businesses, I lost my passion there.
I respect that too, very, very much. I can relate 100%. So you get the idea to start teaching in front of groups of people, getting the word out there and getting groups of people. I'm very sure that, I've been to several real estate investing events and you look around the room and it's a super diverse crowd, right? It's like teenagers all the way up to, like you said, older people that are in their 80s that are still into it, people from all different nationalities, different backgrounds. What's one of your, typical crowds look like? Do you have a specific demo that you try to reach? Or is it just like, hey, everybody's welcome as long as you're willing to participate and honor the work that I'm putting in?
So we are taught that we're supposed to find our avatar, no matter
Mhm.
what business we're in, and cater everything towards that avatar. So my avatar is the investor that has a few properties, frustrated, wants to grow faster, doesn't want this slow process, or just wants better returns. Sounds like my story, because usually our avatar is very similar to us. But when I'm out there speaking, I understand that there's a lot of people in the crowd that is not my avatar. So I kind of want close to this impossible thing. I want to have at least some nuggets within my 60, 90 minutes with a group to give them something that can go and better their life. So I slip in some mindset, and people don't friends are there to hear about mindset typically, but I try to have some of that in there in hopes that they're at least going to take that back and help them in the rest of their business. Or we talked about the avatar. You don't have to be a mobile home investor for that. These different things we talked about, you can take it and put it into almost any business. And that's the other part of my passion. Yes, I have to have my avatar to be very successful, but I want to help everyone. So every part of one of the lines in my business vision is everyone that comes in contact with our business is better off. And I don't care if that's the applicant that doesn't get approved, the seller we don't buy their home, obviously the seller we buy their property, every contractor, everyone that comes in contact with us, I want in some way to better their life.
That's the way to do it right there. That's the most noble thing that I've heard all day. And I've been around some pretty noble people. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch it just a little bit here. I want to ask you more about the, like you just said, there's a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of different people that you can put into place to take care of those day-to-day tasks that you don't really like doing. Let me ask you first, how many properties do you currently have under your umbrella that you're getting cash flow from on a monthly basis?
We take care of about 30 properties. We own
Okay.
most of them, and some of those are master leases where I'm renting it from you with the right to sublet it out to someone else.
I like that. Okay, and they're all based in Florida, I'm guessing?
Yes, a very tight little 30 minutes from Plant City.
Oh, that's beautiful. So my next question you just kind of answered there, but I was going to ask, how do you manage 30 properties? You know, even if they're close together, that's 30 properties. That's got to be pretty tough. What kind of staff do you have to assemble in order for this all to work? You know, your in-office staff. I'm sure you've got maintenance people. I'm sure you've got guys on the facilities that you know, are on call at all times in case the hot water goes out or there's some kind of crazy deal. What does a office setup look like for this type of you know, real estate investment company?
Well, we do not have any brick and mortar office. So it's our laptop and our cell phone. That's what we're based out of. Our number one person is our resident that lives in the property. Like it's your job, Chuck, to make sure that your home is taken care of well. We're here to assist you with anything and everything you need. So it's your job. This is part of the lease up and qualifying portion of it. So we really qualify people that want to take care of the property. And that's the first piece. So it's good communication. Now, obviously, there's going to have to be phone calls because that wouldn't be logical for them to do everything. Right now, I have a part-time office manager. I had a full-time office manager, Jill, and she was with me for years. Never thought I would have a W-2 salary employee. I really was against that. But Jill grew into that and became one of my best assets because she allowed me to travel. And it was a hard day. It's not that long ago that she left. But remember, I said part of my business vision is everyone that comes in contact with our business is better off. Well, she started as a stay-at-home mom with me, grew to full-time salary, and then got an unbelievable offer from a property management company that I was like, I can't tell you to say no to that. It was fantastic for her family. So I got to be part of her journey. Quickly found the right person to replace her. And Karen is now. I get a little fulfillment of helping a stay-at-home mom. Like even if I paid less as someone else, I that just fulfills me. So I'm benefiting their life and I'm consistently asking them, you know, what they want out of this. So it's not just saying, hey, you have to work these hours. Well, what works within your life that benefits you? It's not just money. People want other things than money. So usually a lot of it's freedom. So right now we have Karen is on. We have two VAs. One of them, Kartik, has been with me, I think, since like 2014 or something like that, a long time. And Michael is only been a few months, but I think he's the right position for us because Kartika can only do overnights, and there's only so many things that she's able to help us with. The VAs help with a lot of that, you know, the document prep, the things, watermarking the photos. Anyone can do, and it doesn't take that much time, quote unquote. But when you have 100 tasks that don't take that much time,
Take some
that's a 40
time.
hour work week.
Yep.
And it's the mental bandwidth is what I think people don't realize a lot of time to go and watermark photos. It's super easy, but it's mental bandwidth. So if we can find someone that is really good at that and likes that, now I get to bless them by paying them some money. You know, as long as I have it in my budget and as we make more money, we all get paid more. I get to bless them with a better lifestyle.
That's awesome, dude. I really am enjoying this conversation because I mean, I wasn't expecting us to line up so well, you know, and that's the cool thing about this podcast is I meet people. We literally just met, like we're 38 minutes into this conversation and we met like 40 minutes ago. So
Yeah.
this is pretty awesome. I really enjoy this. I think that's cool that you know, you pre-qualify people and you don't have a bunch of 20-year-old Adrians, like you said, that are destroying your property because honestly, that's the vision that most people have. And I think that that's one of those things that, you know, probably scare a lot of people away from investing in real estate like this. And I guess that kind of brings me to the next thing. You've got the PDF. I'm looking at your Facebook and it's 14 myths debunked. Tell me a little bit about it. I mean, you don't want to give away the secret sauce right here because it's something that we've got a special offer for later, but tell me a little bit about some of the myths. I have not read the book yet. I literally just clicked on it. Like I said, we just met. Tell me about some of these myths that you can debunk about, you know, real estate investing as it pertains to single family mobile homes with land.
Well, you danced around one of them earlier. It's the biggest one. It's the trailer trash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll say the word. Everyone always tries to be so nice about it, but people think it's all trailer trash that live in mobile homes. And yes, there's some quote unquote trailer trash. If you took the wheels off of it, you wouldn't call them trailer trash anymore. Those same people might live in an apartment complex. They might live in a concrete home. They might live in a wood frame home. But because they have wheels underneath it, you call them trailer trash. And I'm just being, general, not saying you are. But that's not who lives in most of my properties. It's the blue collar handyman, handywoman, because we did that avatar thing again. And we looked who is taking care of the properties and who do I just relate with. I mean, I grew up with an entrepreneur family that's more blue collar. And I like all the animals I mentioned earlier. I get excited about them. I like it whenever I stop by and they tell me about their tomatoes growing in the backyard. That's me. So that's who I go after. Do we get some quote unquote trailer trash? Of course, some are going to slip in. Do we also get the white collar, straight out of college, making 75K a year, working from home IT? Yes. We get a mix of everyone, but that trailer trash stereotype is a stereotype, which means there's not a ton of them if you go after areas that doesn't have it. So that's one of the big ones. You can't repair them. We always get that stereotype. If you don't take care of it, you're right. You can't repair it. But if you take care of it, you can repair it. They go down in value. That's another one that people love to throw at me. Well, yes, they do kind of go down in value, but let's look at it a different way. That there's a value of cash flow to you and I, right? Because we like cash flow coming in every month. The person living in there, when you lived in that one, you valued a roof over your head, right?
Absolutely. I'm a
So there's
roofer.
value still there. An appraiser might try to say that no, 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 there's no value there, but there's value to the two of us for those two reasons. So the value doesn't necessarily go to zero. Well, when you have a housing shortage, which most of the country has, now the value of a roof over your head just went up. When there's not rental property to buy, the landlord or housing provider now will pay a little bit more for a property. So the values actually do go up. Are they the exact same as a site built home? No. But I'm a cash flow investor. Have my properties, some of them doubled and tripled in value? Yeah, they have. I bought them right. I'm cash flowing them. And for me, appreciation is pure luck. So those are some of the big top ones that everyone loves to throw out there. We've got more in there. I mean, I can keep rambling on about them, but
No, I
those are
think
some of the
that was
heavy,
the
big
one I
ones that I
was
get real
really looking
passionate
at
about.
was, it's expensive or you can't do the repairs. And I'll tell you, there's been a few occasions where we've done some roofing projects on some that were right at that stage, and you don't realize it till you get into it. And I mean, there's one story that I can tell you where there's a guy that ended up, not living anymore, but it wasn't relative exactly to the whole thing, but it started because of it. And the little tiny rafters on the roof, they're little 2x2s, and it's like, okay, you have to really be careful and understand, that it's not the same. Like you said, it's not the same as a site built home. There are just some things that just happen for whatever reason. And I guess that's just part of it. So when you look at your 30 properties and you say, okay, for, maintenance purposes, what kind of a budget do you need to set aside for the course of a calendar year for anything that could, possibly come up? You might have to replace the roof on 5 or 10 of them. Obviously insurance comes into play on some of those things, but what kind of expenses go into that entire process for you?
So I run my numbers like everyone else runs their numbers. 5% for maintenance and repairs, 5% for CapEx. My ego side, ego's not always good, but my ego wants to beat those numbers. I believe that we need to have like a 15 to 30 year track record for that to be a believable number. And my system has been dialed in the last few years. So I don't even have 5 years of really good data since I have this better tweaked system. So I am using the standard numbers, and it's been true in my time. But I don't want to even go out and say that I can beat those numbers or even those are true because I want a long term. I hear people say, "Oh, I only have 3% maintenance." Well, how long have you been doing it? 8 years. All my mentors have been in the business for 20, 30, 40 years say that they cannot get away from the standard numbers as a portfolio on the whole when you average it all out. So that's what I do. You did mention insurance. That's one of those other myths. I want to touch on that for a second. And this is going to be a state by state thing. Right now, Florida, we're a laughing stock again. You know, we get a lot of media attention and
I'm
insurance
a
is one of
roofer.
those.
I get it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so insuring homes in Florida is not very easy right now. That doesn't matter what the structure is. Mobile homes are even tougher. If we get back to a quote unquote normal insurance, which I don't think we will, because right now, actually, the roofers, the insurance companies, and the state are all suing each other, and that's going to be years and years.
Yeah.
That just means, all right, we can't get insurance on some properties. Who cares? That's my philosophy. That just means I have to get a better deal. Now there's a little bit more risk. I will take on more risk at a higher yield. And that's really all it comes down to. And I am willing to buy properties I cannot insure the home. I will always get liability insurance. That is today. If I was on property number 3, number 4, no, I would be scared. Or I would have to have it at such a low dollar in that I was super safe. Because if you lose one property and you have 3, 4, 5, that sucks. If you lose one and you have 30, it's not fun, but you can survive. And with the hurricane, we had a pine tree. I'll tell you a quick story on that to give you some kind of numbers and how do you fix these things. It fell on the home. Now, if you don't know trees, I know you know them in the roofing business, but a pine tree is not heavy in comparison to an oak tree. Oak tree demolishes whatever it falls on, basically.
Absolutely.
A pine tree, and this is a really tall one. It fell on the home. It was a single wide 1980, I think it was. A branch goes into the bedroom. This is there in the hurricane. We go over there and check it out and everything. Within a week and a half, we had it was a metal roof over, which I love those for the mobile homes. Metal roof over repaired, all the damages of the home repaired, the carport all replaced. It cost us about $6,000 in a week and a half. That was it. We had one of those master leases, which is on a concrete, strong structure. Took 2.5 months for the insurance to decline most of it. And it was vacant for all of that time. We lost no rental time on the mobile home. So I know that's a little bit of an extreme maybe scenario here, but insurance, if you buy it right, is about sleeping right. If that scared you, that story I said, then you don't need to buy any properties that can't get covered by insurance. Newer homes can get insured. I'll touch on real new homes for the people that don't have the risk tolerance I have. You can buy a newer mobile home that can withstand 165 mile per hour winds. Now, I don't buy those and invest in those. But some people, that's what they need to be able to sleep well at night. You're going to make a little bit less cash flow ROI than I do. But who cares if you can sleep well at night? There's no reason to make a bunch of money if you can't sleep well. So they do make mobile homes, the manufactured homes, really strong these days. I just don't invest in them because I like cash flow more than a strong structure.
I like it. You're sticking right to your plan and you're working it and you know exactly what your system is. That's the way to be successful. We're winding it down a little bit. We're at 48 minutes. I always like to keep between 45 and an hour. So I've got a couple more questions I'd like to ask. And this kind of veers off. I guess I've kind of gone, different paths here, but we'll kind of go back to your teaching for a minute. The coolest part we were talking about is when you've got people that are successful and maybe they come back later on, they send you a text message and they say, hey man, I just got a deal. I just did this. You're obviously not working one-on-one individually because of the emotional tie, but you're going to have an emotional tie to anybody that reaches out to you and says, hey, Adrian, dude, I came to your event. You showed me this. I saw your webinar. I got your book. I read, whatever. And you've done something that's changed my entire life. Like it's someone you've never met before. And I'm sure if you haven't had that yet, it's on the way. But I want to ask, if you've had that, what's been your most memorable case of someone reaching out to you after the fact and saying, hey man, this changed my entire life. Thank you for what you did. And how did that make you feel?
Oh man, I've got a bunch of them, and I screenshot those, and some of them I looked at daily for weeks and weeks, and those are important during the rough times when I'm frustrated and it does get those hard times. You look back at those. I've got a single mom, military, single of two daughters. She went and fixed and flipped 6 mobile homes in her first year. Her first one, she cleared like $63,000. If she
Nice.
only did that one, the life change for a single mom with 2 kids to get 63,000 extra dollars is huge. I got another guy, Greg. He went out and quit his job. When I say job, I mean his family business. He closed the doors of a multi generation family business, and he said it was sucking the life out of him. He was a part time investor, and he just said, I don't want to do what I don't love, and built the confidence up in him after the course of that. Um, Another one that maybe everyone won't feel this way, but I think I helped prevent someone from going to college. Now, I was an 8-year college paid guy. I got a 2-year degree out of that. And I think college is for the doctors, the lawyers, the nurse. I want all of them to have it, but I don't think it's for everyone. And straight out of high school, his parents were already some of my students, and he came to one of the classes. So I do in-person classes every once in a while. He went and fixed and flipped a mobile home in a park straight out of high school and made a pretty large chunk of cash. I don't think he's going to college. He wasn't even already for it right then. And it's not for everyone. So I love that story because I may have shortcutted a lot of money that I paid in to the college system. Now I learned some. Probably didn't learn as much as I paid, but
Well,
I
that's
mean,
the
those are a
point,
few of
right?
them. We have on our weekly meeting, we actually have this down to find a student success story, a resident success story, or a seller success story to bring to the call every week because I don't hear all the resident side, and then Karen doesn't hear all of the student side, and sometimes we just don't hear the other piece of it, and that helps. I'll say bring morale up and just remind us why we are doing all of this. It's yes, the money, and yes, we hear the bigger pieces of it, but sometimes it's just the tiniest thing that thank you. A landlord's never done that for me or has never replied like that. Like those are the little things that we bring in. It's not always this big magnificent story.
But it's life changing, and that is so worth every second of the struggle that we go through to get to where we are. I absolutely love that. And you can sense the passion when you tell those stories, and that's what's so cool about this. So we're gonna wind it down. Let me ask you this: if anybody that's been watching this, which I've got a lot of entrepreneurial friends, I had a buddy on last week that was talking about how he purchases real estate through a subject to type system. And I thought, okay, this is cool. I'm kind of getting into a little bit of a rhythm with the real estate stuff. If anybody that's watching is got their interest peaked like I did when I saw your online presence, and they want to learn a little bit more about you, about the services that you can provide to help them change their lives, and any of the stuff that can move that along, what's the best way for people to do that? How can they get a hold of you, and where should they go?
If you go to lifestyle dash, you need a little dash here, rei.com. And if you put slash keeping it Rio, so I'm sure you'll put that in the comments or whatever. And there you can download that 14 myths debunked there, and you're gonna obviously give me your email for that, and I'm gonna email you my blog. That's free. I learned I enjoy writing, which I never would have thought. So back up a little bit on the book thing, because I like to talk about this because it was uncomfortable for so long. I
Yeah.
was in remedial classes all through school, and while I was writing my book, I learned I'm dyslexic. And so a little bit of inspiration, if a dyslexic guy can write a book and buy mobile homes, the old saying, so can you, is pretty true here. And so I just really learned I like to write. So I have a blog there, and it's not only mobile homes, it's real estate. And then I put in some mindset. If you are a grammar police, you may not love it because I edit it.
Yeah, they get over it. Trust me. I do that stuff on purpose sometimes just to see the reactions that I get from it. And The world loves to correct you when you're wrong. That's for sure. And sometimes when you do it on purpose, you can really expose people for who they are,
And
good
you
or
know
bad.
what I say is, well, it doesn't look like I need to know how to spell to buy mobile homes.
Exactly. If that was a prerequisite, I would have already failed. And guess what? I'm not. So that is awesome. Adrian, I really have enjoyed this conversation. The last hour has flown by really quickly. I'm going to look more into this stuff as well. And you're going to see me again in the future for sure. Thank you so much for your time. It's Friday evening. Like you say, though, man, this is kind of my passion too. I love this podcast and I love getting to meet people like yourself who are out there changing lives, who are doing things that they're passionate about and are just having success. So thank you for taking the time for that. Everybody that watches, thank you guys always. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the support that this podcast gets. Our sponsors, Sky Diamonds, Roofer. We got a whole gamut of those things as well. And couldn't be more proud of the conversations we have. This was a great one. So until the next time, always remember to share this, subscribe to the YouTube channel, do all that cool stuff. And my corny line before we leave is always keep on keeping it real.